Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition.
Sometimes you get so quiet. That wasn't,
Sorry.
you could be quieter. It's all good. I just like, ooh, she's being meek for a second. What? No. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in warm but rainy Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
I would like to do my intro crochet part 2 outside, but it's rainy and Bracken Mountain Breakfast Club has taken over our usual hangout spot.
Because it's warm.
Because it's their usual hangout spot. And it's warm enough to be outside. And don't get me started. Okay, before I sat down, I wanted to show you all the progress on my Ready, Set Raglan Elowen Pullover. I used the remnants from the sleeves. It's on barber cord right now instead of my knitting needle. I used the remnants for the sleeves, what was left over. Each one has been knit in here. I was at like 6 inches, now I'm at 9. So each one only got me about 1.5 inches of torso. But I'm loving how it looks. I'm like, yee, I'm so excited. I'm going to finish it. Cool. I'm going to finish it before the end of February. I was going to finish it this weekend. It's Thursday. Wow. Didn't happen this past weekend. But I got this part done. So I'm thinking another maybe 2 inches or so before the ribbing. Mm-hmm. Like, I have a whole nother ball of yarn to play with. But I'm thinking at least 11 inches of torso. Like, I could be happy with it being, like the length of my t-shirt, right? I think that would make me happy.
2.5, 3 inches.
3 inches to here?
Well, I don't have my ruler.
I have mine on me, but it's under here. But I'm saying not 3 inches till the ribbing, because then that's going to be
another
longer.
like 2 inches.
Yeah. I always have to keep in mind that this will probably ride higher than I think it will, so I should make it a little... I mean, I don't want it to be a tunic, right? I can sit down now. I don't want it to be a tunic, but I do want a comfortable length and not super long. And I did the collar on this. That's the other thing I wanted to show off, is the last time I tried this on, I hadn't picked up the stitches for the collar. And I'm pretty happy with how the collar looks. When I first knit it, I was like, it's going to be floppy, it's going to be weird. It's looking okay. I think it's good. That's interesting. When I sit down, I was worried. Okay, I was worried when I made this that changing color at sleeve separation, which is how one of the models is, would put the color change like at or above or like in a weird place on the girls. And when I'm standing, I feel like it's just under. When I sit, I feel like it rides up just a hair.
But it's still low.
It still works. Okay. So, it's our Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. I'm putting Bracken Mountain Breakfast Club out of my mind for a few minutes. And we had one question, which I don't know if we're going to have super great answers on. Even with time to think about it. Which, to be quite honest, time to think, like, even if you write us ahead about something, time to think about it may not happen. We have so much going on at the shop, but we'll spitball right now. And I have my computer for various reasons, so issues this morning. I just knocked my mask on the floor. Go ahead, Liz.
Dear B&L, I thought I'd give you a bit of time for pondering and perusal.
Yeah.
As I finish up my March gift knitting, I am looking forward to my next gift deadline at the beginning of June. Do you all have recommendations for mindless or mildly challenging spring, summer shawls and appropriate yarn recommendations? Thanks ever so.
So, even though February is not the busiest month for us, there's always a million things going on. Even if, it's not like we have lots of sales and lots of turnover in the shop, and I bemoan that. There's always stuff going on that we're trying to deal with at the shop to keep things organized, to try to stay on top of inventory, all these other things. So we don't have a big, huge list right now to share. We have a, let's think about this right now. Kind of thing. And I don't have a list like you'd think we'd be more organized and have a list of go-to sweaters and shawls and things for when people walk in the door, and it's more of a here's what I've made. It gets very personalized too when people walk in.
It does, because like summer weight shawls everybody has a different opinion.
We had a different opinion right before we turned the camera on.
Yeah.
So, of what constitutes that.
Yeah.
Right?
So, like, we've had people come in the shop and go, I'm looking for a cowl, and then walk around the store and go, kind of like that, but with that and that, you know, like, everybody has their own.
Or they come in and say, I want a triangle shawl, and we show them all the triangle shawls in the shop, and they have reasons why they don't like every single one of them.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, but I didn't want that on it. Or I want a vest, but I don't want a vest that has a cowl neck. Can you find me one with a V-neck? Can you find me one with, and it goes on and on. But we digress about complaining. So, but summer weight, like, there are shawls that are designed for different seasons, potentially. And then there are shawls that you can change up for the seasons depending on the fiber you make them in. And then Liz was mentioning, like, size of needle can change things. And
it also depends on where you live.
Yes.
Because a summer weight shawl in Florida could be vastly different than a summer weight shawl in upstate New York or Alaska. Like, I've lived places where I could still wear a fall or winter weight sweater in the summer or shawl, because it's, you know, cold enough outside that, you know. But fibers can be helpful. Cottons, lots of people do cottons.
Yeah, that's the thing. Plant fibers can help make things summery. Again, depending on where you live. If by summery you're addressing the warmer weather option, of needing a warmer weather option, one idea for that is thinner yarn and plant fiber, and the exception to thinner yarn would be mohair.
Yes.
We would not recommend mohair, even though it's thin, for a summer weight anything. Yep. Even though like some of the pom-poms that, like, Pom-Pom is a quarterly publication. Pom-Pom Quarterly. And sometimes their summer things will be full of mohair because it's thin, and it's like, yes, but it's warm, in my opinion.
Yes.
In our opinion. It's warm, so ugh.
And also, with cotton, if you go too thick...
Oh, then it starts getting...
Yeah. Like,
so that, again, thinner plant fiber. Linen is lovely for summer weight things, right? So it's not necessarily that we have a go-to pattern, but a one skein shawl pattern, like made for fingering weight, but then you do it in a linen or a linen blend or something like that, that would make it even more summery.
I was thinking like your Pumarada, where it's made out of wool, but it's fingering weight on a size 10 needle. It's
merino. Merino has a little bit more smoothness to it.
Yeah.
So it breathes a little better, whereas other wools, like the Perth, that could work, but it's roving gangs of sheep, so it's a little more fuzzy.
It's got the halo.
Yeah, anything with the halo on it is going to feel warmer against your skin, so that's going to make it harder to be purely summer, or that kind of thing. But some people will say, well, I can't make it out of the sock yarns because it's wool, and it's like, but if it's merino... And especially, like, you like going onto bigger needles. Yeah. And the Pumarada is one of those examples of something knit on bigger needles. There's more space in the stitches. Like, think about how open the stitches are. You have more breeze coming through. More ventilation.
When I made my fingering weight papillons on size 10 or 9 needles, everybody went, oh, you can see through it. And I'm like, yeah. But it's perfect weight for, like, I'm going into the grocery store and they have their air conditioning set at Arctic, and I need just a little something over my arms. And, you know.
So it's, and the whole thing about what's mindless or what does she want, moderately challenging?
Mildly challenging.
Mildly challenging. That's going to be different for different people. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, and it kind of is. But But, like, I always, when people come into the shop and say, okay, like, I need to search for a pattern, and they've never heard of Ravelry before, and we start talking about Ravelry, And then I say there's filters. So if you're, beginning knitter and you're looking for something easy, they have level of difficulty, and you can pick easy or even piece of cake, which is considered even easier than easy. But I always have the caveat on that a pattern writer might say, this is really easy. And you might look at it and go, no, it's not. And so, like, if I was going to say, and some people will find this easy and some people won't, like a one skein shawl, the Reyna, like I'll go grab some of these to show them off. But then again, if you do it in a plant fiber instead of the merino, you might have more of a summery feel to it. You could follow the same pattern with a thicker, not too thick, but a thicker plant fiber for a bigger shawl. That's what Liz does, like not necessarily plant fiber, but for the Papillon, she goes bigger needles, bigger yarn. If you keep it to a plant fiber like our Ultra Pima cotton or something else like that, and also boost up the needle size, you could still have something that is kind of fun, but might be more suited for summer months. So let me see here. Go ahead.
Yeah, easy or mildly challenging is all in the eye of the beholder, because we've had people come in and go, so this project is slightly challenging, meaning you have to pay attention. It's like everything's knits and purls. Everybody's like, oh, I can knit and purl, and I'm like, that's pretty much all knitting, but like the combination you kind of have to pay attention to. And they're like, I want it even easier than this so that I don't have to pay attention to it. And I'm like, that's just straight knitting. But
then they think that's boring.
Yeah.
So.
And then other people are like, well, I want something with a little bit more complication. And I'm like, okay, here you go. And they're like, oh, that's still too easy.
Or they'll say, I want a little bit of complication, and go, ooh, that's too hard.
Yeah.
Like jumping from straight knitting to something with a little bit of complication in it, it's too hard. And why can't we find something in between? And we're not necessarily the experts on that. So, all right. So I don't have a sample of it because I keep stalling out, and someday I might actually make one. One of our there's a little bit of complication. It's not just straight knitting. Is the Hitchhiker, and that one is asymmetrical, which means it starts in the corner and just keeps getting wider and wider. But there's little teeth. Like every 8 rows, you bind some of them off, but you're increasing on one edge, and you're just knitting, and the other edge every so many rows you are binding off and making little teeth. And that can be really fun with a variegated yarn or something. But if you made it with a cotton, like I started to make it with a really thin cotton, and then I still stalled out. So that was me. But the next, yes.
That is probably the lack of complication, because you tend to thrive if a product is complicated.
True. I need things that are less complicated in the shop for the people who don't want the more complicated things, though. But yes, my stall out was probably because I like a little more complication. This is our example, thank you, Amy D, of the Reyna shawl. And that has, that's a symmetrical, here, I'll just hold it up. All these hangers. This is a symmetrical, it starts in this, most symmetricals either start at the very tip and go up. More of them start at the top. All my hangers getting stuck in all my things. And at the top in the center and go out and grow as you go. You can tell from the angle of the stitches how they angle into the center at a diagonal. That this one starts in the middle up here and starts increasing along the center spine and the outside edges. And this one has, I'm going to hold it closer now. It has rows of just knitting, that's the garter, and then it has rows of lace work, so there's a little bit to pay attention to there, but that knocks it up just a notch. And this looks great in a solid or a variegated. So this is the Reyna. I don't remember who all of these are by, but I will put it in the description when we post the video, which may not be till later because I have intro crochet part 2 today. So let's see, so that's the Reyna. The one that Liz was talking about, the Pumarada. So garter is knitting every row when you're knitting flat. The Pumarada is stockinette. So, and this is an example of a crescent shawl. Stockinette is where you knit on the side facing out towards the camera right now, and you purl on the other when the other side is facing you. So all the V's are facing one direction. And this one it's a crescent because you're not increasing in the center. That's what gives you the triangle shape. You're only increasing on the edges. And sometimes the crescent shape happens when you increase on both right and wrong sides. You can end up with a really wide crescent, really fast. This one is really great to just throw around your neck and go as a summery thing. And the Pumarada is one that is fingering weight on a size 10. So the stitches are really, really big. Like you can almost see Liz through that. And then towards the end, there's a little bit of lace work. There's a little bit of complication. And some people see that. Like it starts out with just little things here and there, and then the bottom is all lace work. And some people see that and go, I can't do that. And I'm like, but you didn't want to do the straight knitting one because it was too boring. So I'm kind of done. But there's another version. I'm realizing the Delphinia, which is over there, is a two-skein version of the Reyna, kind of, where it's alternating with the lace and the garter. The other ones I have here are different levels of, they look complicated, but they're not as bad if you want to engage in them. So the mildly challenging of the other one skeiners. And we might have gone over these guys before, but, I think it works for this category too. Here's a crescent. This is by Lisa Hahn. This is the Shimmering Pearl, and I did it in a color-changing yarn. I did it in Perth. So, again, this might feel a little crunchy for summer, but it's pretty, and it could work for, like, air conditioning and stuff, right?
Just something to throw over your shoulders.
But this has, and let me hold it up close again. This has sections of garter and then sections of lace work, which are stockinette, which means purling on the backside.
And we've had somebody do this shawl in cotton.
In cotton, yeah.
In the katoon.
The katoon. And so this one's really fun. Again, the crescent means you're only increasing, you're starting in the center, where my chin is, and you're increasing on the edges. So, the other two I pulled real fast are by Joji Locatelli, and I really, Joji for her first name. I really like a lot of her things, and she has a ton. She has newer one skeiners that I haven't had time to make because I have too many projects on needles. But she has one that came out recently that that she even called like the one skein wonder or something like that. Again, this is one skein of fingering weight, so if you want to do it with sometimes cotton, you have a little less yardage on a single skein, so you might need to go beyond, because cotton. Here's the double bind. Is cotton breathe like plant fibers breathe better in the summer, but they're heavier. Like you can't fit as much yardage. Same thickness of yarn, you can't fit as much yardage into a 100-gram skein. Yeah. So that might sound like it's not going to work, but again, it's not as fuzzy, so it breathes better. It feels nicer against your skin. This sweater I'm wearing right now, I'm already getting overheated because it's warm outside today. If I had made it in like our Cumulus, which is a really soft cotton, it'd probably feel better against my skin and I'd be happier right now.
But it would still be warm because of the weight.
Yeah, because it's thicker. And super soft. The softer it is, the more warm it might feel. So this is the lightweight hipster, and Joji has made an actual like worsted weight version of this. Again, that would be for a slightly warmer climate, maybe. This has what's called drop stitches. You see these big holes in it. It's got a lot of garter again, and then it's got drop stitches. It actually has some lace work in here too, but it's hard to see with the busy yarn I picked. The drop stitches, that's wrapping the yarn around the needle more than once, and when you come back to it, you drop off the extra wraps, and then they crisscross on this shawl because she leads you through the directions of how to do the crisscross. So I think this is like advanced beginner. Like you can do this if you know how to knit and purl. It just takes a little time to get used to the crisscrossies. So, but it looks more complicated. So some people go, I can't do that. And I don't want to tell them that they're wrong, but they probably could. But I'm not going to push too hard because either way I'll lose a sale, you know. And then the last one that I'll show off for today, but really anything you want to. If you want a bigger shawl than this, go up on needle sizes or pick a more complicated shawl and pick plant fibers, that kind of thing. This is the Storm Shawl. It's also by Hohi. And from back here, it probably just looks busy. It's another crescent. This one has drop stitches. You don't crisscross. You just let them drop and be open. But it does have something called short rows in it. And the short rows are, like, in the garter sections. Like, I tell people you can look at this side and see how the drop stitches are all close together. And if you look at this, the same end of those other drop stitches on this side, they're really far apart. And that's because in the garter, you turn around in the middle of the row and you do some rows that don't go all the way across. They go like this far, and then this far, and then this far, and then this far. And you end up with an asymmetrical shape to your crescent stripes that are going on in this.
The crescent shape itself is very symmetrical. The inside design is not.
And part of that is because of how I blocked it, too. But yeah, the shape is symmetrical. What's going on in the inside is kind of zigging and zagging. It's called the Storm Shawl, and it's a storm, and I really liked it when I made it. But in terms of spring, summer stuff, either smaller for more flexibility of wearing, or smaller yarn, or plant fibers, or small yarn, big needle. There's a lot of different ways. You could make some kind of wrap that, again, you're just knitting every row on a big needle, right?
If you wanted mild complication, like the chevron cloud would look gorgeous in just a light cotton, and you don't even have to change yarn, just to get the chevrons in there.
The mohair is going to make it warm, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't use mohair.
Yeah, I know.
Switch out your yarns, or a long rectangle shawl gives a lot of flexibility too, because in the wintertime you can wear it all bundled up, and and then in the summer you can just let it drape around your shoulders and you have a wrap. So there's lots of
one of the things I'll say is, like, we have all these people, either knitters or not knitters. We have both, who come into the shop and think that this time of year we must be super busy, and it must be our everyone's knitting because it's cold out. And it's like, but this question, I think, is an excellent opportunity to talk about how people knit. First of all, people knit year round, or people wear knits year round. Sometimes it's more challenging as to what you're going to wear in the warmer months. But the cowls, the shawls, the plant fibers, there's always things to be made all times of year. And for this knitter and others, starting to do that now, getting ready for the summer, it happens. Like, we have the Zoe yarn is a cotton and linen blend, and I would do more of my summer knits out of that. I wouldn't necessarily do I did a shawl. I'm looking at the Audition shawl. I did it all in Zoe, and that's a way to make it more lightweight. I'll show you all that, although the caveat is that I used a multicolor Zoe, a Zoe dappled, and a Zoe solid, and they've discontinued the dappled. So we have a few in stock. I don't think we ever put them online. But let me grab the Audition shawl.
And always check yarn content, because, like, we have a alpaca linen, and I know I've been...
And bamboo. 2 plant fibers. It must be good for summer.
The alpaca is going to be heavier than...
And that's the Chi-Chi. And then we have the Summer Delight, which has cashmere in it, but there's so little cashmere in it. It's only 10% cashmere and the rest is cotton. I think that actually does work for summer. So this is... I have this pile of hangers here. This is the Audition shawl. And it's an asymmetrical. You see it started over by Liz's fingers over there. It got bigger as we went. And it's like you're auditioning. You're trying out different stitches. And I used a color changing and a mustard. And so there's lace work in here. It's bigger than the one skein shawls, right? There are slip stitches. There's all kinds of stuff. But this could still work. It's a little bit... like, if you like wearing them like this, the shape is a little bit different than a symmetrical. But it still works. I got this pile in front of me. It still works as a shawl. It's going to be a little thicker and a little warmer, But it still feels cool against my skin because it's in plant fibers. So, I'll try to remember all these. I might leave them piled here until I can do the write-up, which could be this afternoon because I'm teaching crochet this morning. I'll try to put all of these in the description of this video. But this is an example of, I think this was written for merino. But I did it and again, it feels a little heavier than if I'd knit it in a wool. But it feels cool against my skin. So there's some difference as to how it's going to look and feel and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest things I would say is for summer stuff, you want to go thinner. If you're going to stick with wools and merinos, you probably want to go thinner on the yarn. If you're paying attention to and care about the fibers, like the other option is you can do somewhat thicker stuff and go with plant fibers. But as Liz pointed out, if you combine the two, the thicker with the plant fiber you go, the warmer it's going to feel. There's going to be a tipping point where it's no longer feeling summery.
I'd keep your cottons to DK or lighter.
Yes.
Just because, like, your ranunculus that you did out of the cumulus. And cumulus, it has some fuzz to it. So it's going to, kind of warm up. But it's a heavier cotton. And
I did I did a cardigan out of, not Summer Delight, out of the Coastline from Jody Long. And that's thicker. And that will work for, like, the really breezy spring days and things like that. But we're getting pretty thick there. We have a bulky cotton called Bud from Juniper Moon. And that's great for, like, warm baby blankets. I wouldn't necessarily do a summer knit in that.
No.
It's a little thick for that. And then people come in wanting super bulky or even bigger than that cottons, and I'm like, that's going to be so heavy. Like, maybe a blanket out of that, but we don't have enough call for that we have anything of quantity in stock in the shop.
I think we've looked for some, and from our suppliers, it's difficult to come by.
From the people we order from, it's difficult to come by. I think Cascade has one that's a super chunky cotton, but it's meant for, like, baskets. It's not meant for wearable items. So, I think that's all we have on that, really. I was going to try to update y'all on... I'm going to give you a final tally on Tuesday because it's the last day of the month. But I was going to update y'all on where my finish and frog and all that kind of stuff is. While I'm looking that up... Liz, what should people do if they want us to answer questions or ponder on things?
They should email liz@sundragonartandfiber.com.
And we'll get to it next week. So, let me see.
While you're looking at what you've finished and resolved, I started a new sweater.
Of course you did. Isn't that pretty? You've been, like, deliberating over the color work on that for a while now. So,
like, all weekend. But, because I needed the burnished. And this, it's a chunky sweater.
The burnished is a lovely color. Yes.
Yes.
So this could be a summer sweater, but only when it's like really tornado-y outside or something.
It could be a summer sweater if the high only gets to 50.
Yeah, in the summer. Which in our areas.
Yeah.
All right. So on sundragonartandfiber, all spelled out, .com/Fiofif, FIOFIF. You can also look at, I'm updating my tally every couple of days. So I just updated it this morning. And for the frog, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have officially frogged 10 things. I have about 3 or 4 more things I think I'm going to frog before the month is over. May or may not get frogged on camera. Might just get ripped out at this point. But I have totally ripped out 10 things. Some of those things I might redo, or I might use the yarn for stuff, and some of those things, the yarn has either been given away, or it's going to go in minion bags of mystery. For bind off where they are, like the pieces might be nice for how does this knit up for the shop. We've had, I think I've said on here, we had at least one knitter who said, why would I bind off my project where it is? And for personal home use, you may not want to, box it up and put it on the wall and say, look at what I tried and look where I got to. But some people might. More people at home will probably want to either say, I'm going to finish this, or I should just rip it out. So, I have bound off, or I've had people helping me here at the shop bind off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things. I think the quadrangle spires is heading towards a bind off. Even if like I tried to put it to a vote on Instagram, and finishing it edged out everything else. Like, people want me to finish it. I don't know if I want to finish it, but that keeps me like it's pulling that away from the frogging category. But I might just bind off for now. And if I ever was like, oh, I want to finish that, like, I'm going to free up the needles. And then I think it's in a place where even binding it off, I could unravel the bind off and pick it up later. Probably won't, but that's probably where that one's heading. 4, 5. I have finished 7 things. I'm going to show y'all the log cabin on Tuesday. I don't have it here right now. But I finished 7 things, which means, like, what someone on Knit Night said, so how many have you resolved so far? So far, I'm at 23 things resolved in some way or another. I am hoping to resolve this one in the next couple of days. And the list of what I pledge to finish in the future keeps growing because I keep looking up, like, things and adding them to the list right now. But let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have about 20 things on my list right now. Some of those are going to bump over to other things. And some of them are like, I have 4 pairs. I didn't count the 4 pairs of socks. I just listed 4 pairs of socks. So I would imagine I have at least 30 or 40 things that are still unresolved. But, we'll get to it. People are trying to call me. Sorry about the noise. Go away. I didn't answer it. Anyway.
But you could have wanted to after you dismissed it off your watch.
It thought I answered it on my it was saying answer on my iPhone. It's really weird. If it's the same like area code as my cell phone, it's probably a telemarketer. 99 times out of 100 it's a telemarketer. So anyway, so there's all kinds of things, and some of those things I've resolved to finish. I have touched this month and put on camera, and some of them I have not. So anyway, I think we need to wrap up and get ready for the crochet and figure out plan B for not being able to hang out until the Bracken Mountain Breakfast Club vacates. And the Bracken Mountain Breakfast Club, sometimes they do vacate right at 10. I think enough people have come today. They're not going anywhere for a while. We'll see. Anyway, come hang out with us. But if you're in the shop, you got to put a mask on. So, what else we got? We have virtual sit and stitch tomorrow night,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
7 to 9 p.m. on Zoom, and get in with the shop phone number
828-877-3550.
I have a fixture mistakes class on Saturday, but no one has signed up for it. So, we'll have other things to do here in the shop if I don't have any clients for that class. If you're local and you want to hang out outside, dress appropriately for the weather. We will be having sit and stitch, especially if it's warm enough. From 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday in person. That's not on Zoom. Don't go on to Zoom. We won't be there. The next Zoom weekend thing is going to be the Facebook and Zoom thing on Sunday, but it's going to be March 19th. It's not happening for a few weeks. So, there's that.
If you're like, hey, I want to come hang at the shop during our hang times.
It tends to be outside.
Even in the almost 70 degrees that it was yesterday, you needed a long sleeve.
It was breezy.
It was weird.
It's a man-made wind tunnel outside. Yeah. And with the storms,
Saturday's
it's breezy anyway. So
in the 50s.
Dress appropriately. But we'd love to have you hang out. If it's more than shopping, we're outside. And for lessons, we will bring those inside if the weather is not conducive to focusing our attention. Lessons will mask up inside. For just hanging, that's not a intense focus thing. I mean, it could be, but that's an outside thing for us still with how we're running the shop. So we love y'all. We hope you have a good weekend. Keep going. We have until Tuesday on Finish It or Frog It February, and I will still be dealing with projects that I either want to finish or frog or other things. I'm hoping I can clean out all the froggable things and bind off things that I can before the month is over. But there still are going to be a lot of pledge to finish and see what happens items as well. But I'll update y'all on Tuesday. Okay. Bye. Oh, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing.
Subscribe, ring the bell, all the fun stuff.
We're less than 100 people away from our next YouTube sale. And today is the last day of this YouTube sale. Remember, it is Sideshow 3 years. We'll save you 18% on purchases, either in the online shop or in person, but you got to tell us in person at the register, even if you've told us before. So, but today is the last day. Thursday is the last day. Thursday the 23rd is the last day for our celebrating 3 years of filming. Holy craziness. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.